Is this thing on? I got to test it and make sure. The other day, I actually started an episode and I didn't turn the microphone on. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, I made such a huge mistake. This is the worst thing in the world. And then I realized that every single time that you screw up is an opportunity to be able to grow. And when I was a kid, I would have a baseball card, and that baseball card, if it had an error on it, it was worth more. And so then I realized that a couple episodes ago, if you go back and the episode on addiction, that episode was an error. So I believe that it's worth more. So today on Unscripted, we're going through Proverbs 26, the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day. Why is it that we do Proverbs? I'm glad you asked. Because it's 3,000-year-old wisdom, it's God-inspired word, and it's incredible how it's applicable to our leadership, our culture, and our systems in today's circumstances. And what my pops taught me and my mom taught me all the time was that it had nothing to do with the circumstances. It had all to do with the principles and the condition of your heart when you went into those circumstances. So I'm going to invite every single one of you to do the things that I've told you to do. Subscribe right now. Subscribe. Click the link, put on the notification so that way you know that when we're coming again. If you haven't commented, please do. Prayer requests, any of those things, share it with your friends. Write a review if you're on Apple or Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, or anywhere where you listen to your podcast. And then make sure to check out the merch. We got the merch, the vibes, hats, hoodies, shirts, everything like that. You can click the link, check out the Vibe Room, which is a live version of the podcast, and check out the community. This is a community building people up. We meet every single week and we archive all the messages. So then that way you don't have to be on at a certain time. But the real reason why we're here is because of Proverbs 26. Unscripted. We're going to be talking about the heart condition. So we're going to be talking about foolish behavior, sluggish behavior, gossip, malice, deception, and wickedness. I know that doesn't sound too enticing, but these are all things that we can beware of and then fill our heart up. And again, Proverbs 26, it's a heart condition. Test your heart, fill your heart, guard your heart. Let's get this party started.
Cause we believing it's for certain. We put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
Welcome back to another episode of Unscripted, Proverbs 26, the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day. And the reason why I've wanted to do this is because I've actually been doing this on the beach. If you've seen 45 Seconds of Wisdom, as it started off, I just would take a picture or a video of the word, and I would just do that and just do it for 45 seconds. And my friends started asking me, why are you just videotaping some journal that you're writing in? And I said, because sometimes we need to slow down enough just to listen and be quiet. And everything on social media at the time was, talking heads speaking and things like that. And I do this too. But sometimes when I take the time, even if it's 45 seconds, to sit in silence, when I do that, I give the opportunity for God to be able to speak and for me to be able to hear. Now, it's not for me to say, oh, God only speaks when I shut up. It means that he's speaking all the time, but he's very patient and he's waiting for us to be able to listen. And when we tune in to that station, it's unbelievable. One of my friends, Greg Reed, said the other day that, country is in the airwaves right now. Hip hop's in the airwaves right now. Rock is in the airwaves right now, but you have to tune into the right station. And when you tune into that station of wisdom, it's always playing. It's always on. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And when you get into Proverbs, the corresponding proverb, corresponding day, there's 31 Proverbs in the book, and there's 31 days in the month for most of the months. And then you just recycle it. And what happens is your circumstances change. So the word reads different. My wife told me this: people will never hear what you say. They'll never see what you do. They'll only hear where they are at. So let's jump right into Proverbs 26. And today, I'm going to put a smile on my face when I say these words, because write them down: foolish, sluggish, gossip, malice, deception, and wickedness. Now, that doesn't start our day off great. That's not the cup of coffee that we want. But what God revealed to me this morning in this is that it's just a heart condition. It's a heart condition, always. God's always constantly looking at our heart, not at our actions, not at our sacrifices, not at the rituals or the religion, but just looking at the condition of our heart. 3 stages. Number 1, test your heart. And we're going to give the opportunity to be able to do that today. Fill your heart with wisdom. And the way that we fill it with wisdom is by respecting God's character, or what they refer to as fear of God. And fear doesn't mean fear and trembling. It means respect. And how do we respect someone? It's because we get to understand their character. And when we understand their character, then we can have the opportunity to respect them. When we respect God, because we find out his character, he starts to give us wisdom. That wisdom is the right use of knowledge. He'll then give us knowledge, because there's no use to have knowledge unless we have wisdom. And then that knowledge will produce understanding. Understanding will produce insight. Insight will produce discretion. Discretion will produce discipline. And discipline will produce strength, which will lead us right back to the Lord. So let's jump right into point number 1. Does it match? Question mark. In this, I had this conversation with my daughter yesterday, and we were talking, and we were listening to Taylor Swift. And she's a huge Swiftie, and there was a song, and Taylor Swift was cussing in the song. And I turned to my daughter, and I said, this may sound like a dad, and I don't want you to think that I'm judging, but Taylor Swift, her amazing voice, her incredible music, and her songs, it doesn't really go with the cussing that she's doing. It sounds like she's putting those words in to try and relate today, and relate to maybe somebody today, or strike a nerve, but I don't really feel that she needs to. And I just asked my daughter her opinion. Now, some people will backlash on me. Swifties will tell me that, let her do her thing. But I just looked at it and said, it didn't really match for me, because she was so talented. And I didn't think she needed the words. But in this verse 1, it says, like snow in summer or rain in harvest, honor is not fitting for a fool. Just ask yourself, does it match? When you look at and you're testing your heart, does the things that you're doing or that you're thinking, does it match the type of character that you ultimately want to have, or that you actually have? My pop said it like this: you're the greatest, son, so act accordingly. And are you acting according to that greatness? That was a tough question to answer all the time, especially when I was a young bonehead. Point number 2 is know the situation and timing. This was so confusing to me, because in verse 4 and 5, it's contradictory. So this is crazy, right? And I've always questioned this one until just recently, and God started to reveal it to me. So I have a note down here, December 27th, 2018. And so that's 6 years ago. And he's just now revealing it to me now. And I wish that God would give me the answers quicker. I don't know if you guys feel that way, or if I'm the only one. In verse 4, it says, do not answer a fool according to his folly, or you yourself will be just like him. Okay, cool. So if somebody's foolish, meaning that they're not in line with what God has for them, if they're foolish, just don't answer them. And then it says in verse 5, answer a fool according to his folly, or he will be wise in his own eyes. And I was like, God, are you telling me not to answer him, to answer him? And then what he opened up was know the situation. And to know the situation, you have to be present. And if you're present with people, you'll understand the circumstances, the situations, and then that way you can act accordingly, right? And so always know the timing. Point number 3 is signs of foolishness. And this goes from verse 6 down to verse 12, but let's just read verse 6. It says, sending a message by the hands of a fool is like cutting off one's feet or drinking poison. That's pretty much to the point, right? And so when it says sending a message by a fool's hand, think of this, guys. A foolish person is just a person who's not in line with God. And it's not saying all these people are foolish. It's saying, look at you, test your heart. Are you in line with God? Well, if you're in line with God, he's going to trust you with those messages to move forward, and other people can too. But if not, guess what? That opportunity is going to go on to the next one. But I would read in verse 6 through 12 and encourage you to go through those, which I think is amazing. So one of them, which is verse 11, I put on it, is as a dog returns to his vomit, so fools repeat their folly. It's amazing too, because in this chapter, it uses the word fool 7 times. It's a lot, but when I looked at it, it's just, I looked up the word fool, and it meant just like a windbag. That's where it came from. Just somebody full of hot air, full of no substance. Test your heart. Let's see. Point number 4 is signs of laziness. Signs of laziness, it talks about a sluggard, right? And so it's from verse 12 through 16. So do you see a person wise in their own eyes? There is more. Oh, that one's, it's verse 13, sorry. But let's go back to that one. In signs of foolishness, do you see a person who's wise in their own eyes? There is more hope for a fool than them. So think about that. Imagine seeking counsel. You hear this constantly in Proverbs, and it's constantly telling us to go to wise people who already have the wisdom, right? And so here we go in verse 13. A sluggard says there's a lion in the road, a fierce lion roaming the streets, right? Because that person just wants to lay in their bed and says, oh my gosh, I'm going to get hurt if I try. No, just try. And signs of laziness is from 12 to 16, or 13 to 16. A sluggard is wiser in his own eyes than 7 people who answer discreetly. When we're wise in our own eyes and we don't seek counsel, I had a challenge yesterday, and you know what I had to do? I had to get some perspective. So I called my big brother, Rob, and you know what? He gave me the perspective that I needed because he shifted the vantage point. He just helped me to see it from another standpoint. When we start to judge a situation, generally it's because we start to make it about us and not about the person who told us it was. So in point number 5, it's mind your business. Now, I read about this. Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is amazing, again, because 3,000-year-old wisdom. It comes right back to Proverbs, and then we take that, and it's great in Rich Dad, Poor Dad because he talks about this exact thing, which is mind your business, verse 17 through 19. So verse 17 through 19, like one who grabs a stray dog by the ears is someone who rushes into a quarrel not their own. Mind your business. How do you know your business? By being in touch with God and communicating with him, and he'll let you know exactly where you need to be. Next one is fuel on the fire, verse 20 through 22. And verse 20 through 22 deals all with gossip, right? It says, without wood, a fire goes out. Without gossip, a quarrel dies down. Imagine this. When we take the fuel off the fire cannot burn anymore. And so this is a thing for us. When we look at this and we test our heart and we say, am I gossiping? Am I talking about something? Am I talking about something to someone who can't do anything about it? Go to the source. Talk to the person. Communicate. When you have challenges in your business, in your culture, most of the time, 99% of the challenges in culture, in business, in relationships, all breaks down to communication. It's a sender, a receiver, and a results. Whoever the sender is, the receiver, it's never their fault. It's always the sender. What language are you speaking in and how are you communicating? And the only way you know if you're truly communicating, as my pops would say to me, is if you get results. I just had a conversation with my friend the other day, and he was like, oh man, my leaders are doing amazing, but the people are challenged and they're having challenges. I said, oh, stop. Let's look at the leaders then, because if the leaders were truly doing a good job, then the people would be doing great. That's how you measure leaders, is by the people that are following them in their performance. Because if the leaders were communicating clearly, uninhibited, constant communication will break down all walls. And if they're communicating correctly, then the people would be performing at a high level and the leaders wouldn't be getting any credit. But in his organization, all the leaders were getting credit and the people were getting blamed. So point number 7 is faking the funk. Verse 20, let's see. It is verse 25 through 28. So in verse 25 through 28, it says, when I say faking the funk, God always knows the condition of your heart. He will always, always, always know the condition of your heart. So there's no way for you to be able to say like, oh, I'm doing X And, I'm doing this, so do you see it? No, it's always the reason why you're doing it. And so God's going to know that condition of your heart. That's why we need to test the condition of our heart. We need to fill it with wisdom, and then we need to guard it at all costs. And watch this. In verse 25, it says, though their speech is charming, do not believe them. For 7 abominations fill their heart. Their malice may be concealed by deception, but their wickedness will be exposed in the assembly. Whoever digs a pit will fall into it. If someone rolls a stone, it will roll back onto them. A lying tongue hates those it hurts, and a flattering mouth works ruin. Think of this. We need to guard our heart and also realize that all the things that we do, if we try and cover it up, if we try and cover up our heart with all these actions and think that, oh, wow, that's going to help it. No. It's the flip side of it. And so I want to go back to this right off the bat is to help you to understand it's always a heart condition, no matter what. Like what I find is 99% of challenges in business and relationships in life is a heart condition. We got to test the heart, see what you're actually believing. We got to fill it with wisdom, and we got to fill it with grace and love and mercy. And we got to guard it. We got to guard it against foolishness, being a sluggard, gossip, malice, deception, wickedness. And watch this. 99% of challenges are a condition of the heart. God wants your attention, so he will have your heart. Your heart will move your mind will determine your skills, and God simply wants your heart. But most of us flip it around. We think our skills will determine our mind will determine our heart, and we've got it backwards. God says, deal with your heart first. Take your heart, get it in line. What do you believe? Take your mind will be developed by your heart. Your mind will be your intentions. And then finally, your skills will simply be your actions. But if we lead with our actions, that's where we get into challenges, because when there's something going wrong in an organization, something going wrong in our life, we say, but I'm doing the right thing. But how is your heart? Test the condition of your heart. Proverbs 26 has been incredible 3,000-year-old wisdom that is applicable today in your leadership, your culture, your systems. Check out the Vibe Room, check out the merch, subscribe, do all the things that you know you need to do. And always, always, always test the condition of your heart. This has been an episode of Unscripted, another one, and I am so excited to be here, and thank you so much. I'm grateful for helping us to get in the top 1% globally. My name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat.